Welcome, everyone. I am John Ryan of SportsMemo.com, and joining me is Ronald Cabang, my good friend and pal and professional sports bettor. This is the NBA Triple Double Show for Thursday, May the 19th. We're very glad and appreciative that you've taken the time to join us. Welcome to the show, Ronald. We have a game two tonight, and I'm wondering, this is obviously the Boston Celtics at the Miami Heat for game two. The total, we had talked about the total, if that game played around 190, that we could possibly see a 199.5. Now the total is
Mhm.
basically 7.5 after going over the total in game one by more than 20 points. But more importantly, fundamentally, I know we talk analytics, 75% of the time on this show, I would think. But I've been playing in my head, what does Boston do differently that is going to offset Spoelstra? And then Spoelstra being a top 15 greatest coach of all time, I
Mhm.
got to think that he's anticipating already what Boston may throw at him to limit the Jimmy Butler experience and counteract it before Boston even puts something in place. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that and what Boston, if you're a Boston fan or a Boston bettor, what they have to do to get a win here in game two.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here, right, is Horford is, I believe he's doubtful. I don't think he's officially out, but he's a very he's impactful for the Boston Celtics on the defensive side of the ball. The other thing is too is they didn't have Marcus Smart in the first game, and he's someone that obviously the defensive player of the year, the top perimeter defender in the game right now. To be able to have his presence also on the court and at times put him on Jimmy Butler at times was missing in game one, and Miami took advantage of that. I think another thing to note is the coaching. I think when we discussed this in a previous show that Tatum played 23 of 24 minutes in that first half, and he was gassed in the second half, and you could see that right off the bat. It's something that they need to adjust to and really trust some of the guys on their bench. When the score isn't out of reach, kind of give your guys an opportunity to put yourself in a position to just stay close and give your star players a rest so that they could be more prepared for a tight game towards the end of the towards the second half. I think those adjustments need to be made for the Celtics here for them to even have a chance at winning today's game.
Well, we both had Golden State on the show yesterday and as a premium bet to our all access clients. So that worked out pretty well. I also had the under as a 4%er. So that was a good day. I'm wondering if the same thing doesn't happen again with Boston, doing something to offset Jimmy Butler. I mean, that is obviously their goal. And I think that's the only chance they have to win. I was thinking, too, Marcus Smart is back, as far as I
Mm-hmm.
know. So
Yep.
I personally think that if you had a choice between having Al Horford and, as you mentioned, the defensive prowess that he brings to the Celtics defensive as a complete unit versus having Marcus Smart, who's also pretty darn good, but smaller sized than Horford. Horford
Mm-hmm.
has that paint presence. Which player do you think makes the greatest impact? I mean, we know obviously Marcus will because Horford's probably not going to play.
Mm-hmm.
But if you
Yeah.
yourself had a choice, which one do you think you would prefer over the other?
I mean, in this game, the way that this matchup between these two teams are, it's tough. I
Yeah.
think I was looking at the defensive rating, with and without Al Horford versus the defensive rating with or without Marcus Smart, specifically this season, including the playoffs. And there is actually a bigger gap with Al Horford on and off the court than it is with Marcus Smart. So that's one thing that I noticed when I was capping this game last night. I knew there was a chance that Smart was going to play, but Horford was still doubtful, and that's the reason why I looked into that during this cap. And to me, that's surprising. But in this matchup, really, if we're really trying to stop Jimmy Butler, Marcus Smart would be the key guy to have on the court. Obviously, Robert Williams is kind of getting his feet back under him with the more he plays. He looked really great in game one of the series, and so he could be someone that you could continue to progress on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the paint, and help while Horford is out. But if we want to focus in on stopping Jimmy Butler, it would definitely be Marcus Smart.
And I fully agree with you. I feel validated now that you agree with me on that point. I'll share with you a couple of little things that I found that are pretty good supporting the Heat because I truly believe that people forget the importance of being the number one seed. They were the best team in
Mhm.
the Eastern Conference during the regular season, and I do think that they're being somewhat discounted despite what that team has accomplished to date. And
Mhm.
Spoelstra, I mean, how many times I almost feel like sending like a if I could direct message one of those guys that are doing the games, or direct message Charles Barkley and say, can you mention Spoelstra here and give him a big shout out because he deserves it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just unbelievable what he's been doing.
Mhm.
But Spoelstra in his career in the playoffs is 7-2 against the spread in games line between 200 and 209.5 points. He's also 18-8-1 against the spread for 69% winning bets in any game two of any round of the playoffs. And I got to think, you add in the Jimmy Butler, I call it the Jimmy Butler experience, because it's not a good one if you're the opposing team. And
Mhm.
I don't know how you stop this guy. Luka Doncic has gone nuts, right? But he was pretty well contained last night, as we had discussed on the show. And I don't see that happening to Jimmy Butler. I just see a guy that is more positive, more confident, more motivated to play that next game. I mean, he shows no signs of fatigue, which Jason Tatum definitely did in the second half of that first game. So it's hard for me to lean on Boston at all. But I definitely I'm going to lean on Miami here for game two to cover the spread.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that look here. Obviously, I think the Celtics are going to put up a bigger fight today. When I was looking into this game, I was looking at how they do in home favorite situations in conference games throughout the regular season and in the playoffs. They're 24-5 straight up, 18-11 against the spread. So they're winning these spots here. And when we add to the fact that they're playing a team with a winning record, so a playoff contending team, 18-2 straight up, 15
Wow.
and 5 against the spread. So they do even better against the spread in those situations. They play up to their opponent's levels. And I think one thing here is how they've been playing without Kyle Lowry too, because he's out for this game. And they've actually been doing really great in the postseason, specifically without him. 7-0 straight up, 6-1 against the spread. Also 5-2 to the under without Kyle Lowry here in the playoffs. So it's something that that to me is pretty surprising, that how much of an impact their defense is without Kyle Lowry. I think there's about a double digit gap in defensive rating with and without Kyle Lowry here um, in the playoffs. And to me, that is surprising. You would expect him to be a high defensive playmaker for them. That's why they brought him in, right? But it's actually the total opposite effect. So it might be a good thing that he's not playing right now, to be honest. And so to me, I do look towards the Heat here. I haven't gone to the window with it yet. I really do feel like the Celtics are going to play a stronger game here. Maybe it's something that I might just look at the money line here and avoid the spread. You can see last series with against the Bucks, there was a 2.5 point spread that the Celtics covered, but still lost. And this is a situation here. This is a Boston Celtics team and a Miami team that like to play close because of because of their play style and their defensive minded coaching. So it could happen. I think this 3.5 could be a situation where the Heat could win, but the Celtics cover. This is the NBA playoffs here.
Yep, and that's happened in the playoffs, especially in this round. So that's a great observation there. I think
Yeah.
for in-game live betting, what I would prefer doing here is I ran my implied volatility based on the games, the playoff games weighted more than the regular season. And if you like Miami, you want to put 50%, in my opinion, pre-flop at the current line you have at your book, and then really try to look for that -1.5, maybe -2.5 range.
Mhm.
You'll notice if you've never done this before that Boston could be potentially up 8 to 10 points in the first half, and Miami will still be a favorite. And
Mhm.
it's maybe they'll be pick 'em. That would be golden if you could get Miami a pick in the first half. That is a bet that I would definitely recommend getting on board because I don't think they lose the game. So don't be surprised if you see Boston up 8, for instance, and Miami still minus 2.5 because you'll go, what? How is that
Yeah.
possible? But that is their algorithms anticipating the next run by the Miami Heat. Usually these lines, when they get funky like that, is after a Boston Celtics 10-0 run, say.
Yeah.
And that's actually a good bet. If it's 2.5 and Boston's up 8, that is still a good bet, especially if it's in the first quarter. So as close you can get to pick them, I think that is where you add the other 50%. And minus 1.5, 2.5 is not bad either for 25 and 25% each.
Mhm.
So that's my take. I guess our best bet for the show is a moderate lean. Is that what we call it? A moderate lean, like a 2.5% or 2.5 unit bet on the Heat. That fair to say?
I would
I
say
feel
so.
like
I mean, I'm
great.
in I would say like a 80% territory right now on putting that bet on Miami. Yeah, I'm getting there. I haven't put the money on it yet, but yeah, really getting close to doing that. So we'll see what happens. Right now it's just a lean. I want to dig a little bit more and also get more official status on the players, especially Horford. And Derek White being out too is another piece that I want to look into a little bit more as well.
Yeah, he's a big piece too. I think.
Hmm.
Another guy largely under the radar. In my humble opinion, I think he's that scrappy guy
Hmm.
that causes problems for any team that they play. But we'll have to see how this goes tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if the home team continues to dominate the series, and the home team dominates the series in the Western Conference as well. We'll just have to take it one game at a time. So, Ron, I know you have to get going. You're going to be on Jay Money's show here in about 2 minutes, so I'll let you get
Yeah.
going. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And make sure you get over to sportsmemo.com and get our NBA plays that are up there, including the WNBA for Ronald, because
Mhm.
he's very good at that as well. So we'll be here tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time for another edition of the NBA Triple Double. And until then, best of luck to everyone. Bet with your heads not over it, and may all the wins be yours.